Hello guys, Justice here. Today is a short video around the new sacrifice ability and actually going to be testing it out at the QBD. And there are quite a few videos which YouTubers have put up which I've been looking around where they review the sacrifice ability. So they basically just go over what the function of the sacrifice ability actually is. So it heals 25% of whatever you hit, however it can heal 100% of what you hit if the opponent dies when you hit them. It can hit 100% of your weapon damage, which is also quite interesting. Some people haven't noted though that when you actually use the ability it doesn't charge up your adrenaline, so it is a sacrifice of actually charging up your adrenaline. However, it's definitely a worthwhile sacrifice. So yeah, there are a lot of people who have showed the what the sacrifice ability actually does. However, what I'm going to show you guys is how useful it can be at the QBD. So I thought, I'm going to test it out at the QBD. It's quite a good boss to test it out at. You can use it quite frequently, and at the QBD you want to try and keep your life points quite high, but whilst you're keeping it high, you don't want your adrenaline to reduce. You want to be able to keep DPSing QBD down. The reason for that is that if you have been QBD before, when you're actually farming the QBD loot, you'll find that if you DPS to the maximum, like if you're constantly hitting it, you can actually prevent the QBD from performing some of her attacks. So for example, when you see QBD lift her head up really high and she's about to breathe a firewall, you can actually prevent that by DPSing enough just to the point where just before she actually releases that firewall, that will actually stop her from releasing it, and therefore you don't get damaged as much and you can go and activate the next Dragonkin. So DPS is extremely important here at the QBD, about making sure you've got the maximum armor for your level in order to really deal as much damage per second as you can. So before I actually go into the mechanics of when I use the sacrifice ability, I'm just going to talk about my different gear setups which I've got at the moment whilst this first kill goes on, and then when the second kill starts I'll go through exactly when I'm using the ability and why. So the QBD, the gear I like to use, or this is the first time I've actually used Torva here, so I've not been QBD in a very long time because I usually do Virago or the Barrows Rise of the Six Brothers, so I've not been QBD in a while. I absolutely just completely obliterated her there, and that's the best thing about QBD. When she becomes weak to melee and you're actually Amelia, you can just absolutely rip through her armor and just deal so much damage. But yeah, I haven't been QBD properly in a very long time. The reason for that is, like I said, Virago and Rise of the Six. However, when I used to go QBD, I didn't have Torva at the time, and so I had Tetsu, and I thought this is still good because I'm not going to get hit as much. But to be honest, wrong decision. You want Torva here. You want DPS armor here because I can see the difference. Seriously, the difference between Tetsu and Torva here is just insane, and it really does make the difference when you're actually getting those critical hits and the damages I'm hitting. I seem to be hitting a lot more critical hits. Also, the Whisper, I used to use a Fury, now I'm using a Whisper, and you think, does the critical bonus really make a huge difference? Yes, again it does. I seem to be hitting a lot more critical hits. But now I'm actually going to go into the second kill, so I'll explain what I do in each phase, what abilities I use, and when to use sacrifice. So when you're at the QBD, you're obviously farming, so you want to try and get back into the next kill as fast as you can, so you may not heal up to full, and that's fine. So right at the beginning, if you've got sacrifice available, then just use sacrifice straight away and you'll heal a little bit. Usually if you're max combat like me with this armor, you're healing around 300 to 500 with just a normal hit without berserk. In the first phase I tried to use 1 to 2 thresholds, and like I said, sacrifice at the beginning. When I go to the first Dragonkin artifact, I usually use anticipation because you've got a bit of time there where you can't DPS QBD anyway. So if you just hit anticipation, then it's just another defense ability there to reduce the amount of damage you're receiving over this phase, so that's quite handy. Now, as you're aware, if you've been QBD, you can have good kills and you can have bad kills. Good kills are when she becomes resistant to, weaker to melee, and then bad kills obviously when she just uses so many attacks at once, and it's just completely random sometimes. However, as you can see here, going into phase 2, you want to charge your adrenaline up and use berserk straight away. I then use sacrifice. I used it there even though I was near full LP, just to show you guys the mechanism of doing it. So that's a good way of doing it. As soon as you Zerk, if you use sacrifice, you can heal a lot more than doing it without Zerk. You can actually heal a substantial amount. Then I use basics all the way up, and if I need to, use a threshold, but there, as you saw, I really didn't need to, so I just used a basic. Also, you don't need auto retaliate on, but every time you go to a Dragonkin artifact, if you just press one of your abilities, it takes you automatically back to her again, so you don't need to click on her or anything. You can just hit your ability and it'll take you back to the QBD. So into the third phase. Third phase, you don't want to be using a berserk, you want to be using basics and at least 2 thresholds, and then maybe a third if you need to. There again, I didn't need to because she was weaker to melee. Going into the final phase, on the final phase, I like to use berserk again because you've already used it in the second, so it does recharge in time to use it again in phase 4. Use berserk, use basics, and again use 2 thresholds. Use an adrenaline pot as well if you wish to do so to charge up to use those thresholds a bit quicker. So this kill was very, very quick, and again you've just got to time it here accordingly when you've got the flames. I think I take her out here so it prevents her from spawning the third one. Yes, I do. So, and then I just wait basically until the flames are past the dragonkin, and then I go and tap it. So that's basically how you can successfully get a QBD kill whilst using the sacrifice ability. As you can see, it does heal quite a substantial amount. It's very nice. It's very similar to Soul Split. Regenerates every 30 seconds, so you can use it every 30 seconds. Don't bother having it on your ability bar, it's just a waste there. Really, you can just have it open, because again, you know, you can only use it every 30 seconds. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this short little guidance around the sacrifice ability and how you can utilize it at the QBD. Again, any other bosses, I've not tried it at any of the bosses yet. However, again, if you just use the tactic of zerking before you use the sacrifice ability, then you will get a lot more benefits out of the ability. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.